I'm just going to do one of my most popular things for me personally at home. A lot of people come to my classroom here and cook with me, which you can too if you want to, or we can just cook together online. Either way, people ask me like Chef Jeff, like, what do you eat at home? And they all think, oh, I'm sure you cook all the time and it's all these elaborate things. But honestly, I'm a simple eater. I mean, and my most favorite thing is when someone else cooks for me, because that means I don't have to do dishes. It's a beautiful thing. But today, I'm going to show you just kind of like one of the quick and simple ways that I try to kind of meal prep chicken for myself, and to keep it quick, really easy to like portion, and also keep it interesting by developing different flavors. So let's get into this video, and I'll show you how we do it. All right, so let's keep it simple. I'm good with a chef's knife, so I'm going to use a knife for all of it. Some people like use scissors to cut up their meat. You know, either way is fine. If you want to be good with one of these knives, I have videos on how to become really great with a chef's knife. And so I've just got some chicken breast here, and we did some other videos on how to break down a whole chicken. So I've got pieces from that that we're going to use today, and so I've got some chicken breast that I'm going to trim it. So when I trim any sort of meat, I'll take my knife and I'll scrape, right? Kind of twist the wrist and scrape. So I'm going to scrape the fat to the edge and cut that off, because I don't like the fat. And so what I like about this kind of like meal prep, I've been doing this one for years, is I just like it because everything's, when you're done, it's ready to go. So this little piece here, I'll come in here, cut underneath, cut away from myself, turn the chicken, hold the little handle I made, and cut that. That one's good for me. I'm going to scrape the fat to the edge and cut it. We do that on a regular basis. Check in on this piece here. I'm going to cut in. No way I can cut myself. My fingers are back here. Cut away from yourself. Turn it. Grab the little handle. And then cut away from yourself. So you get all that out. All right, we're going to get all the chicken ready to go. So I'm going to trim it all. It's also kind of like a step that I like, is that you work things in like waves. Like this is wave number one. Round number one is just first trimming all the fat, kind of getting them ready. Scraping the fat to the edge, cut it. I like my meal prep to be ready to eat when it's done. So we're gonna cook this, or we're gonna cool it, we're gonna put it in containers, and it's just ready to go. And so to do that, I'm gonna dice all my chicken up. So this is not getting fancy. I'm just gonna dice my chicken. And I'm just gonna start separating the chicken into more than one bowl. Now this is where scissors can come in handy for those of you who like to use scissors. I just am comfortable with a knife, so I don't mind using the knife. I like to cut them in sizes that'll fit in my mouth easy, right? Nice, kind of like medium-sized chunks, 1-inch cubes, etc. If you like them a little smaller, you can do that. I don't like to get them too small, because then I feel like they dry out. So I want them to have a little bit of size so they can retain moisture when we're cooking them. But we're going to broil these. So you want to turn your broiler on to high. I've already got mine turned on, and they're heating up. If it seems like a lot, that's okay. This is meal prep, so you can do a bunch of this, and you can freeze some of it when it's done. And then you can pull one out, a bag out here and a bag out there. Because I don't like to have to spend hours in the kitchen every single day. I like to kind of get it done and then, focus on other things that are important to me in my week. And so hopefully that will help you as well. Now, if you have kids, my kids typically like my meal prep chicken, sometimes too much, and they eat all my meal prep. And I'm like, kids, how's daddy supposed to eat? You're starving them. Just kidding. My kids love to cook. Well, some of them do, and it's fun to cook with them. So I've got everything kind of chopped up. Going in 2 bowls. I've got 2 sheet pans here. Right. 2 sheet pans ready to cook with. So here's just my tip for you. Again, as we're cooking, I usually start with a little bit of oil. So I've got some oil going in to the bowls. I'm going to do oil and salt. Now I'm not going to do pepper because the next thing we're going to put on here are some rubs. So I like it to be salted decent, just lightly coated in oil so it glistens. Just want like a little shine to it. And oil, just so you see a little bit of glistening. And then I've got 2 different rubs. Okay, and I'm going to do a whole video on rubs, but this is my Creole rub. And to me, chicken is a vessel. Maybe I don't like to taste chicken. I'm not really sure because my wife says I don't because I put so much rub on my chicken that all you taste is the rub, and that's how I like it. So this is my Creole seasoning, and which has a little bit of cayenne, it has a little bit of oregano, and it has some paprika, some garlic powder, and some other things in it, and it's a really great rub. Again, I'm going to do a whole video on just rubs because I'm kind of famous for the rubs that I have. At least when people come to the classroom, they always ask for the recipes. And maybe then once you're rubbed down, it's going to go onto a sheet pan, and you want to spread it out, okay? Spread it out nice and flat, 1 layer. Give everything a little bit of separation. The other part about this is you don't want to do too much at a time. So you want it to be a little bit spread out so they can cook. And if you pile this up with chicken, it's just going to like weep out all the moisture. And when it weeps out all the moisture, then they're just kind of soggy. I actually want to get a little bit of crispy on some of the top and outsides of it. And so once I get this ready, separated like that, that's probably pretty good. Make sure there's nothing overlapping. We're going to go in the oven. So I have it on broil. If you've not used a broiler before, the broiler is heat from the top coming down. So if you've not used a broiler before, it's heat from the top down. And I like it for this particular part of the chicken. I don't like to just roast it. I like the broiled amount. Depending on how big or small you cut your chicken, it'll take usually 6 to 8 minutes is where I'm at. So I'm going to do 6 minutes to check it, and then we'll see if I need to go any further from there. So I'm going to do the other flavor. So now with the other bowl of chicken, you just rinse and repeat. And so sometimes I set up 2 bowls. Sometimes I set up 3 bowls. Sometimes I set up 4 bowls and divide the chicken up and use different flavors. Like I use the Creole seasoning in one. I might use my taco rub, which we're about to use in this one. I have another sweet blackening spice I really like. Sometimes I do like Dijon mustard and rosemary. So I do these different flavors, and I just do them all at once, get it all done, and then you're kind of good to go. So this chicken already has salt on it, and can you smell that? Gosh. It's my toasted taco rub. I'm not sure I can give this recipe away. It's so good. I mean, I think I might need to keep a secret, but I don't know. You subscribe to my YouTube channel, shoot me a comment. Maybe we'll talk. So I'm going to do my toasted taco rub here. Again, I like a lot of seasoning. Can you buy rubs in the grocery store? Absolutely. They're going to have a lot of sodium in them, which I added salt. So a little tip for you, at least one that I use. I never put salt in my rubs. I always salt whatever I'm cooking and then add the rub as needed. Whereas when you buy stuff from the grocery store, it is covered in pulverized salt so that it sticks to like the whole salt seasoning mix, and you really can't control the amount of salt that you want to put on there. So I like a lot of rub, and just going to repeat what we just did. Spread it out. And then at home, you probably just have one oven. I am super blessed to have more than one oven at home and here. I don't know where you stand in your life with faith and things, but the Lord Jesus has radically changed my life and made it amazing. And if you ever want to talk about him and get to know him, or just have questions, you can always shoot me a comment or email me. I'd love to talk about that. But I'm super blessed in my life with a great family, and also with 2 ovens at home and 4 here at the classroom. So sometimes coming down here to meal prep is fantastic because I've got all those 4 ovens. And so I'm going to put this one in another oven that already has a broiler on. But at home, I just do 1 pan at a time. And so that's probably the only time-consuming part of it. It's maybe cutting the chicken and then waiting for the broiler to be done on this one, and then on this pan, and then being able to switch it out. But actually at home, I have 2 ovens, but one is for my wife, who's a baker. She's a pastry chef, and her oven doesn't have a broiler. So even when I do this at home, I kind of just have the 1. Here, I've got 4. This one's going to go down to the end. And if you had planned ahead, you'd have your rack right where you need it, but I don't. So I'm going to add a rack where I need it, because you need it a little bit higher. Put that in there. Set a 6-minute timer to check it. And then when it's ready, it's ready. All right, so my 6-minute timer just went off, and I'm going to pull this out and we're going to check it. You can check it a couple of different ways. One, you can feel it, and if you've learned to cook by feel, that works out just fine. You can also get a thermometer, and you can stick a thermometer in it and see what it comes up to, right? I mean, that one's at like 170. The thing about something small when you have a thermometer is you want to make sure you don't poke through to the other side, right? And the tip hit like the pan and tempt the pan instead of the chicken. So it's better to kind of come sideways and make sure the tip gets to about middle, and you can check it. That's definitely super hot inside there. That was like 180, which is too much. And so I probably could have gone a little less than 6 minutes this time. But another way to check it is just to cut it open. I mean, we don't have to be professionals at everything. Cut it open, make sure it's not pink in the center. And so that one is ready to go. And our chicken over here, which is so that was the Creole. This is our toasted taco. It is pretty close, I would say. It's hitting right under 5 minutes right now. And so, again, I just take some of the thicker pieces and just cut into them. It is not quite done. I see a little bit of pink. So, yeah, I see some over here as well. So I'm going to put it back in. I'm going to flip the pan around. All right, so that's meal prep. Some meal prep chicken. I can do a ton of chicken that way. And I also sometimes do fish that way. Like I'll dice up salmon or dice up tilapia or cod and do the same thing. I put rubs on them. I put them in the broiler. And if you look at this one a little bit, why I like it done this way, the broiler, is you get a little crispy on the outside. I don't like my chicken to always just be soggy or something like that. So I have a little bit of crispy on the top edge. It still retains a lot of moisture. And then again, it's just easy to take a piece and pop in your mouth and eat it. And you can put it in Ziploc bags and freeze it, whatever you want to do. But the main thing right now, and something just important for you to know, is when you're meal prepping, you're prepping this food for it to last, a couple of days or more. And so you want to make sure you treat it safely so it gives you that shelf life. That's what we call it. The time that your food is good and can stay on the shelf and be edible is its shelf life. And so your chicken, you want to let it cool to room temperature. Just let it sit on the table or something and let it cool like this until it's room temperature. And as soon as it gets to room temperature, then you want to package it up how you're going to and put it into the fridge. But leave all of your packages open. Like, don't put it in a Ziploc and seal it. You want to leave your Ziploc open so it can breathe and let out any of the warmth that's still in there. Because you want the warmth, you want it to go from hot down to cold as fast as possible. Because the difference when you start out something like 160 degrees where this is, and you want to get it down to 40 degrees, which is where your fridge is, the space in between is where bacteria grows really fast. And so you want to go through that warm spot as fast as you can and get it cold. Put it in a container and lock it all closed, then it'll hold in all that heat and it'll stay in that temperature danger zone longer, and it'll reduce the life of your food because bacteria can grow faster. So again, get it from hot down to cold as soon as you can, and just putting it in the fridge isn't good. You want to start out here to let all this air that we have around here cool it down. The room air will actually cool this down to room temperature faster than if you put it in the fridge. And then, because putting something warm in the fridge, or hot like this in the fridge, will actually warm up everything else in the fridge and make your fridge work too hard. So, let all this air volume cool it down to room temperature fast, and then put it in your containers, leave them open, and so they can go into the fridge or to the freezer and finish the job, and then tomorrow, close them up. All right, so that's a meal prep for you, and I hope that you enjoyed that. And so thanks for cooking with me today, and we'll do this again soon.